the KIX, the KIX Knowledge and Innovation Exchange Community of Practice in Strengthening Competency-Based Education. My name is Marianne, and I'm going to be leading us through the first part of the program today. I'm coming today from UNESCO ICBA, the UNESCO International Institute for Capacity Building in Africa, and I'm here today with many of my colleagues from UNESCO ICBA as well. So we're going to get started here in just a moment. If you'd like to, if you are able to, we'd like you to turn on your camera today. But if you are not able to because of internet connection, we understand as well. So we're very happy to welcome you all here today to this very important first day. Bezwood, could we show the slides, please?
No.
Thank you, Bezwood. All right, everyone. So as you can see, we're here today to learn about how to strengthen competency-based education systems in sub-Saharan Africa. So in the next slide, please, Bezwood. We're going to look at the agenda. So what will we be doing today in this session? What's going to be happening? We will first hear from our director of UNESCO ICBA, Dr. Yumiko Yokozaki. After some welcoming remarks, then we will look at what it is that we're going to be learning in this space. So what are the objectives for this community of practice, and what are the outcomes? What will we be learning after 8 weeks, 8 sessions of gathering together in this community? And we will have our introduction. So you will be welcome then to turn on your video and your microphone and introduce yourselves with some fun questions. After that, we're going to have an icebreaker. And then you're going to get to share your expectations for this learning space. After that, we will hear from our facilitators about what it is that you are going to be learning in today's session specifically. And there's going to be some homework. There's going to be a introduction of a long-term task. Then we will be hearing about really delving into the topic of competency-based education and curriculum. So what is it? Why do we have it? How do we map competencies for it? Then we're going to be hearing from a speaker from Ghana, and we're going to be doing some breakout room discussions. As you can see, there's a rich agenda today with a lot of activities. And then there'll be a feedback session at the end. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome our director from UNESCO ICBA, Dr. Yumiko Yokozaki, who has joined us today to welcome you to this learning space. So Dr. Yokozaki, over to you, please.
Thank you very much. Marianne, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I am in Accra, and my internet connectivity is not stable, so my apologies for not being able to use my video. So you can just hear me. So welcome to facilitators from the Tanzania Institute of Education, curriculum and assessment officers from ministries of education in 18 global partnership education countries in the KIX Africa 19.5, colleagues from ADEAN, the African Union Commission, UNICEF SARO, and UNESCO ICBA. Good morning and good afternoon to all the participants, wherever you are. It is really an honor to witness this special and diverse gathering of ministry officials and curriculum and assessment officers from Eastern, Western, and Southern Africa. Today is a launch of the community of practice of policymakers who seeks to study competency-based education so they can strengthen their education systems. This community of practice has been organized by the KIX Africa 19 Hub at UNESCO ICBA, and we support the teacher education, capacity strengthening, and policy making in Africa. That's ICBA. So this work on KIX Hub is very dear to our heart. We work closely with the African Union Commission, UNICEF, SARO to promote KIX. Now, what is KIX? We are here because of it. You are here in this community of practice because you are already interested in KIX. KIX stands for K for knowledge, E for innovation, and X for exchange. So letter K for knowledge, I for innovation, and X for exchange. You are here today because you're interested in the exchange of knowledge and innovation between change makers like yourselves across national borders for the advancement of millions of children in your countries who deserve quality learning experiences. You are here because you are committed to learning more about competency-based curriculum, assessment, teacher professional development, and learning environment. Competency-based education is nothing new, but it still has not caught on effectively enough in many countries and contexts. The future lies in the student-centered education, learner-centered education. This means we need to shift the focus away from the content, textbooks, and the teachers, and instead towards the students, learners, and what they know and do not know, and can and cannot do with their knowledge. This community of practice is a place where regional Ministry of Education, local education groups, and experts and researchers from across the continent can share their experience and the challenges and learn together. These partnerships and these dialogues are our gateway to creating African solutions to African issues and challenges using African knowledge. Today, we must consider what we can learn from each other in this space and how we can become proactive contributors to change when we return to our contexts and the areas of responsibility. I thank you all for your participation, and I thank you all who have accepted the challenge of bringing competency-based education to their countries. And I wish you all a very fruitful deliberations today and the next 7 sessions. Thank you very much again for this opportunity to meet you all very briefly. Back to you, Marianne.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yumiko Yokozaki. We really appreciate that, and we feel welcomed by your remarks. Thank you very much, and we hope that you have safe travels as you go on with your journey now. Thank you for joining despite your busy schedule. So everyone, now we have been formally welcomed, and we're going to move on to the rest of the program today, and then come together as a community of practitioners, of people who want to study and practice together to learn more about competency-based education to strengthen our systems. So could you go to the next slide, please, Bezowit? Thank you. So as you can see, the KIX Africa 19 Hub on the map on the right includes 3 regions in sub-Saharan Africa: the Eastern region, some countries in the Western region, and then the Southern region. So these are the countries that are part of the Africa 19 Hub. There are 18 of them, no longer 19, there are 18 of them. Many of you today probably see your country on the map represented in one of those 3 zones. So we are also 3 organizations that lead the KIX Africa 19 Hub. So on the left, you see we are UNESCO ICPA. That's the organization that is hosting this program today. We are also UNICEF ISARO. Our partners at UNICEF host events in early childhood education, gender equity, and inclusion. We are also the African Union. The African Union leads on data management. So these are the 6 themes that are part of the KIX Africa 19 Hub, and these are the countries that are part of it. In this competency-based education community of practice, there are several things that you will be doing over the course of these 8 sessions, and hopefully you will be able to come for all 8 of them. If not, then we understand, but we will be giving out certificates for people who come for 7 out of the 8 sessions, or at least if you do the work for 7 out of the 8, meaning that you are able to view the recording if you miss a session, and if you are do the work that comes with it via email later on. If there's an activity or a worksheet or something like that. We can go into more of that a little bit later, but there will be certificates available. In these 8 sessions, you will get the chance to study guidelines and regional good practices in implementing, institutionalizing, or strengthening competency-based education in your country. That includes the curricula, the assessment, pedagogies, and teacher education. And there are these 3 options given. So implementing, institutionalizing, or strengthening, depending on where you are at in these areas. So there may be a case where it needs to be introduced, or there may be a case where it's already well established, but it needs to just be strengthened a bit further. We understand that everyone's coming in at a different level. In this community of practice, you will also analyze your own system's readiness and policy windows for either introducing or strengthening reforms in competency-based education. You will also get to engage with regional research, evidence, and good practices, and develop partnerships with other policy actors. So what kind of skills and what kind of competencies will you develop in yourself in this space, in these 8 classes, these 8 sessions? You will develop a strengthened understanding of what works and maybe what doesn't work in competency-based learner-centered education and heterogeneous contexts, according to practices and data from the region. You will also develop more policy and practice options in CBE. And you will develop learning partnerships between policy actors, educators, and researchers within and across countries. As we've said, there are 8 sessions, and we're hoping that you can join for all 8 of them. These 8 sessions are all based on topics that you have picked. So at KIX, we really believe in not setting agendas ourselves, but in making collaborative agendas with partners, with all of our colleagues coming from the 18 countries in the hub. So we've asked you, what are some areas that you want to study, that you want to learn about? And this is what you've responded with, these 8 different topics. So they're all different and distinct, but they're all connected in some way to competency-based education. As you can see, today's topic is mapping core competencies for students and developing CBC, competency-based curriculum. And we have topics here about secondary schools, experiential learning, integrating ICT, formative assessment, quality assurance through data generation and usage, teachers' capacity development, and teachers' PD. So there are various topics within this, and we will be hearing from countries too in each of these topics, countries that have something interesting to share, maybe some good practices. Okay, I would now like to introduce to you the 4 colleagues from the Tanzania Institute of Education who will be facilitating your learning during these 8 sessions. So I'd like to ask them to turn on their video if they can. We'll be hearing from them very shortly, but I want to introduce who you'll be meeting later on. So we have Dr. Fika Burton Mwakabungu. She is the Director of Curriculum Training at the Tanzania Institute of Education. We're hoping that she's able to turn her video on. We also have Mr. Anea.
Thank you for the introduction.
Yes, go ahead, please.
My video is on. I think everyone can see me.
It was working before, but right now I'm getting a black screen.
Okay. Because here in the screen we can see your screen.
Okay. Are others able to see Dr. Fika, or is it just my problem?
No, Marianne, it's only black.
Yeah, I can see her.
Yeah, we are not seeing her.
Okay.
Yeah, because In my screen here, I can just see the Tanzania Institute of Education.
Exactly. We are seeing the screen Tanzania Institute of Education. That's all we are seeing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well,
Bezat, would you remove the screen sharing?
Okay. I think, Dr. Pika, you have to open the lens, the computer lens, which is reflecting on the camera. I think that one is closing, that's why.
Hello, you can see us now?
Not yet.
Yes, we are seeing you.
Can you see me?
yes, Cosmos,
we
we
can
see
see you now.
you.
We can see
Yes,
you now. We see
yes.
you now.
Yes, we are seeing you.
Yeah, we see you.
Yes.
Madam Prime Minister.
Yes, he's coming, Dr. Africa Mwakabumu.
Yes. Here I am. Hi, everyone.
Now we
Hi.
see you. Hi, Dr.
Hi.
Pika.
Hi.
Hi.
Great, great. So thank you, presenting Dr. Fika. Thank you for coming. Thank you for moving your location. We also have Mr. Anaya Mohando. Are you able to come to the screen to show yourself?
Hi. Okay, I have moved here. Can you see me?
Yes, yes, we can see you, Mr. Anaya. Thank you.
You can see me now.
So Mr. Anaya Mohando is a teacher educator associated with the Tanzania Institute of Education. We would also introduce Dr. Cosmos Minyanyi. He is a senior lecturer and curriculum developer at the Tanzania Institute of Education.
Yes. Here I am, Dr. Cosmos.
Yes, Dr. Cosmos, thank you. And we have Dr. Calvin Swai, who is not here today, but will also be joining at a later session from the Tanzania Institute of Education. So we have 4 facilitators from the TIE. Now we have a chance for you all to introduce yourselves. So Besawat, could you share the slide again? It has some questions for the introduction. And then we can post them into the chat box too. Thank you, and I'll post the questions in the chat box. Everyone, you're here today from different countries, from different places. I would like to ask you, I'll go around and I'll call on names in the chat box. I will be asking you to say hello in either your mother tongue or in some national African language that you'd like us to hear, maybe one from your country. So you can say hello in a language of your choice. You can tell us your name, your job designation and organization, and your country. And then you can briefly, very briefly, just for 10 seconds or less, share a memory of a teacher or a class that you loved as a child. Very, very briefly. Just give it 10 seconds or less. A teacher that you liked and why you liked him or her, or a class that you liked and why you liked that class. Is it clear?
Yeah, I think it's clear.
Okay, and Mary, you can go first since I heard from you just now. Go ahead, Mary.
All right, I am Mary Kumaro. I am a secondary school teacher from Malawi. Can you hear me?
Mary, could you please repeat? Your voice was not very clear for me. Could you repeat it?
All right, I'm Mary Kumaro. I am a secondary school teacher from Malawi. Yeah, in secondary school, starting from primary, I used to like English a lot. That is why I even majored in English in college. So I'm a secondary school teacher. I teach English. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Mary. And it's great to have a teacher's perspective. Thank you. Thank you for joining.
Welcome. Welcome.
Okay. I'm going next. The next person I see on my screen, Alpha, would you like to show us who you are and go next?
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I am Fadali Bite. I am from the Gambia. I work for the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education as a curriculum developer. My mother tongue is Wolof. And the memory that I have is I have a teacher who was teaching me French. Yeah, and then I made a mistake. He just put me on the spot to pronounce UN, to say pantalon. So I just say UN pantalon and everybody laughed. And they keep mocking me like UN pantalon, and that was how I just left the French class, which I still am regretting. That's a memory that is still in me, which has caused a lot of problem in my life. Thank you. I'm joining with Philo.
Hello, good morning. My name is Philomen Sanyang. We are joining from the Gambia. I'm an education officer, curriculum developer as well. Anyway, I will also think of a memory that I have as a teacher, and then we'll get back to you to inform me about my memory. Thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Hello. Yeah, John Balamara, curriculum development officer, Sierra Leone, Minister of Basic and Senior Secondary Education. And my mother tongue is a Kranko. And in Kranko, we say Tanama Tele. That means good afternoon. And my job as a curriculum officer at the ministry. And when I was a class, I loved teaching the lower classes. When I was a teacher, I used to teach class 3, 4, and 5.
Thank you so much for sharing. I see Alpha's name next on my screen. Alpha, are you around? Would you like to introduce yourself? Alpha Ba from the Gambia.
Can introduce you? Let me spoon for. Can introduce yourself here?
Hello.
Wait.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Alpha. Oh, Alpha, we can't hear you.
He's muted, I think.
Alpha, you can unmute yourself. Hello, Alpha. Alpha, you're on mute. Okay, maybe Alpha can go after a moment. There seems to be a problem with his mic. Next, I see on my screen, Aneth Komba. Would you like to go next, please? I hope I didn't say your name incorrectly.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, Saulus Mberamba. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Saulus Mberamba, secondary school teacher, Malawi, Minister of Education. When I was in standard 3, I used to like one Madame Julie Konje. This teacher used to have me participate as actively as possible, or almost on daily basis. So I used to like her lessons a lot. Thank you.
Okay, next, if we can have NF Komba is having some problems unmuting. Henok, are you able to help him unmute? I'm not able to do that from my side. NF Komba, could you help them to unmute themselves?
Let me try.
Okay. Next, I see on my screen, Anna Moreau. Would you like to introduce yourself next?
Sorry, I was muted. Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Muru, and I'm calling from Zambia, and I am advising VVOB on partnerships and also representing VVOB on this platform, which is the KIX Hub. Thank you very much.
Glad to have you back, Anna. Good to see you again. Crispin, would you like to go next? From Zimbabwe? Okay, I think Crispin introduced himself in the chat box. Next, Festus, would you like to introduce yourself? Festus?
Hi, my name is Festus Luseni. I am from Sierra Leone. I work at the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education. I am a research officer. My tribe is Mende, and we say Bua, that is a greetings, good morning. And we respond this year. Howdy, buddy. Meaning that, how are you doing? My memory that I could remember while I was in primary school, most especially class 6. Yes, I really love to have interactions some of the time with regards to sports. And also we have teachers by then that will introduce us to the field to go and play football, sometimes to even go and run, like athletics. Also, another thing that I could remember from my class teacher, most especially my GSS, is the subject fine arts, that is to draw, to create. So that memory will always be in my mind. Each time I would think about it, it will always be in my mind. So I think I love that. I love that very much. And I'm proud to be taught by a teacher. And I will always be proud as a young man to learn the work of art. Even while I'm in the Ministry of Education, I'm so happy and privileged to be in that ministry. And also I'm privileged to be among curriculum development officers. I'm so proud of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Festus. You're very passionate. Yes. Thank you. That's great.
Yeah.
Frank, would you like to go next? Frank Bokhari, would you like to go next? Okay, I don't know if Frank can hear. How about Isaac? Isaac Yaboa, would you like to go next?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so my name is Isaac Yaboa. I'm from Ghana. My native language is Twi, or you can simply say maybe Akan. Yes, and in my language, if you want to greet somebody good morning, you say Machi. And the person may respond, depending on the kind of person that you are. You look at the status and you respond. And so, for example, if the person is your age group or your age mate, you're going to say maybe Yenya, which means you are referring to the person as your brother or your sister. Well, my role, I'm with the Ghana Education Service, and I sometimes wear a lot of hats with the ministry or with the service. I play a role as a monitoring and evaluation officer, and also support with the curriculum development sometimes. One of the memories in school that I will never forget, my class, that I will always remember, class 6, when I was in class 6, we were very few in that classroom, numbering about 16. And so it was very easy for the teacher to have full control over the class. And it became very difficult for you to hide and maybe do something wrong. So I think that shaped me a bit more, because my teacher had so much control over me. And one interesting thing is, because we were few, you remember everybody's name until date. That was way back somewhere in 1982. Until date, I can remember everybody who was in that class's name. I think it has shaped my life, and I got a lot from my teacher. I had the full benefit because he had some few children to take control of. So that is a class that I will never forget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Isaac, for that. Colleagues, we're running out of time for introductions today. So if I could ask you to introduce yourself in the chat box, and then if you did not get a chance to speak today, right now, when we go to breakout rooms later, you can introduce yourself to your colleagues in the breakout room. We're going to have some activity very soon, and you can talk in the breakout rooms and introduce yourself there. So, and then we will have time next Thursday as well. So apologies, but it's getting to be a little bit late now, and we need to move on with the next part of the program. But you will get a chance to get to know each other, especially if you come to the next Thursday session as well. So please type in the chat box your name, hello in your language, your country, and maybe a memory of a teacher that you loved. So please do that in the chat box as we move forward. So apologies again, but yes.
Before we go to the next stage, if everyone could just quickly turn their cameras on to take a family photo. I think it'd be nice for everyone just to be together and to see each other just for a momentary second. That'd be much appreciated. Thank you all for switching on your cameras. And if you're not able to switch on your camera, that's also understandable. But I think we nearly have everyone. All right, I'm going to take a photo. 3, 2, 1. And then one more. 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gabriel, very much for that. And team, I'm very sorry, but because we are running short on time, I wasn't able to get to my colleagues from UNESCO ICPA today, but I'm joined by a magnificent team of people from UNESCO ICPA. Henok is here, Gabriel Mekbib, Ivan Maboya, Beswat Demeri, and Kundesa Tafesi. These are my colleagues from UNESCO ICPA, and you'll get to know them too if you haven't already met them last year in the Community of Practice. You'll get to know them in breakout rooms and as we move forward on these 8 sessions. So without any further ado, you can continue introducing yourself in the chat box, but I'm going to ask Dr. Fika to then start the program today, and Mr. Anea. So go ahead, please, colleagues. Over to you.
Hello? Hello, everyone. Can you hear us?
Yes, but we can't see you. We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much. We'll start our session. And our session today, which is about mapping core competencies, will be led by Mr. Muhando. So, Mr. Muhando, you are welcome to start this session.
Thank you very much. Maybe I should remind you that we were asked to build on the previous meeting. And when we considered what they had gone through in the previous meeting, we thought that we could make a few indications as regards what we're going to do today. Number one, we thought that we could make a slight redefinition of competences and competence-based curriculum in Tanzania, as well as in the rest of the sub-Saharan Africa. We thought that maybe it is very important to think of the human aspect of competence development. And we say that because we believe, especially from a Tanzanian perspective, that competence-based curriculum is about developing man or developing a human being. So we are committed to a humanistic development of education. In that way, we see competence-based curriculum as dedicated to improvement of human character, wherever it is. And if that be the case, we think it has to be committed to the greater human purpose. This is what we've been thinking. And we've been thinking that way because we are also interested in the philosophical aspects of philosophical perspectives of competence. In the first place, we think that human beings can be described or explained as people who can illuminate on the world and everything that fills the world. But secondly, human beings have the ability to illuminate on fellow human beings who illuminate on the world. And thirdly, human beings have the ability to turn towards themselves and then try to adjust their own ways. We've been thinking that this kind of description or explanation can help us try to think of improving our human beingness. And then out of that, we came to establish what we call the outcomes of this session. We had 3 outcomes of this session. Outcome number 1 is to make our participants in this meeting explain their own meanings, our own meanings of CBC. We know there is a diversity in looking at CBC. So we will come up with what we have in our divergency, but at the same time, we shall finish with some kind of common agreement on the meanings of CBC. That is very important. But then secondly, we will try to focus on ourselves on searching for best CBC practices. We should be able, as members, to look at the sub-Saharan area and then see the best practices of CBC. That can help us because we're trying to exchange and also to learn from each other. Number 3 is to develop simple mentoring plans. We believe that after this session, people will be thinking about developing mentoring plans when they go back home, how they can mentor others into CBC. This is very important because it is not supposed to end just as a discussion, but it has to happen as something that is done in life. And we believe that this should be important in the sense that it brings to us a change of paradigm. We are moving from a paradigm of just knowing about the world. But to know the world is not enough. We have to do what we do in the world. And not only doing in the world, but what we become in the world. So it's a question of knowing, but also doing. And after doing, then we have to take positions and become. We believe that in sub-Saharan Africa, there has been some kind of labeling that we are lagging behind, but we're not lagging behind. We're supposed actually to move on and on and on. Do you hear me? Yeah, so that is actually why we had these three outcomes. And outcomes actually are also competencies. To explain our own meanings, that is important. To search for best practices. And three, to arrange or to plan for mentoring back home. This is very important. And the second and then the second undertaking that we have here in the mapping of core competencies is to focus us or to focus ourselves on demanding areas. Well, we chose these areas arbitrarily. Among the sub-Saharan countries. We thought that when mapping, there should be some kind of clues that guide us. We should look at teaching and learning. That's one clue. We should also look at equity and inclusion. There's another clue. Another one is governance, because we come from different countries and we have different problems, political, economic, cultural, and whatever. This becomes important that when we look at our mapping, these considerations have to be taken. We also think that it is important to look at childhood care and education when we map, because learning has to be strengthened right from early childhood. If we are not careful with that level of development, then it will be difficult to develop our children at a later age. We also have a problem with gender, because maybe of traditions that we have in our area. So we think that gender equity should be very, very important. And not only gender equity, but we should expand it again to inclusion, to see the inclusiveness of our education. If we don't address that, then we might not do so well in what we call competence-based curricula. And lastly, and not the least, is coping with pandemics. We thought it's very important to focus on coping with pandemics because our area has been affected recently by pandemics like HIV/AIDS, and recently we had the COVID-19 and other pandemics that have been haunting our area. We thought this could be taken as considerations when we map. And that being the case, we shall pay attention to some kind of activity. And this activity will give us experience on successes that we have made in your countries. And that way, we as members shall tend to our countries, look at the successes, and then when we look at the successes, we can come back again and study the responses that we got. I think we shall be directed to a link that will help us. And that way, we shall remind ourselves of the success stories of mapping in our countries, our individual countries, or the countries that we represent. And then we shall be given some time to respond to this. I don't know if it's important to form groups, but yeah, let's have Cosmo.
Yeah, thank you, Hando, for what you have presented. Actually, as what I understand, that a number of issues that are coming up in our mind is when we are talking about the competencies. We are looking at issues of teaching and learning. How are we doing it? And at what time do we ensure our classes ensure equity and inclusion in education? These are some of the issues that always come around, and in some cases, they need to be considered. And when we are looking at the competencies, we have to look also at the governance and the management systems. And the other thing that Muhando has told us is about how do we take care of early childhood care and education. Do we know that early childhood has a lot of importance when it comes to development as a human? And the other is about gender. At what time do we take issues related to gender? I remember some of the experiences that have been coming from members. Why, of course, I was interested with the one who told why he left French. And those are some issues. And if we are not taking gender equity, we are not taking equity issues, we are not looking at the teaching and learning, because to me, if you ask me, who is a teacher? I can say a teacher is the one who motivates someone to learn a new thing that she never had before. Now, this person is a very important person. We are looking at also the coping. How do we make our people cope with the situation? And now, as the members, there is this Google form, which will be sent to the link. You can click there and try to write, what is the experience you have? And remember, we had the experience, and then after that, we will have an icebreaker later on after having these important experiences to you. I'm sending it to a chat box, and then you will click and respond, and I will try to ensure that the responses are also seen by everybody. Here's the chat box that is sending you. In the chat box, there is a link that is sending you directly to the Google form. When you click it, you are given maybe 5 minutes, and while the members are engaging in that activity, the controller of our music can send us a small music while members are responding, and at the same time, we are preparing another link for Slido. so that you can try to see what is the mood. How did you find this exercise? And we will call everyone to share from experiences. Thank you. And my duty will be now to make how people are responding, and I will make sure you see, everybody sees what is happening. Thank you. Over to Mariam to have some music while people are engaged in this activity. And the activity will take exactly 5 minutes. Thank you. Over to you, Mariam.
Yes, Dr. Cosmos, thank you. Dr. Cosmos, I'm asking you about this form that you've just shared. What do people have to agree or disagree with? Can you please elaborate? I'm seeing that it says that what are your experiences of success stories when mapping core competencies? Agree and disagree. What are people agreeing or disagreeing with?
Yes, to the statement that are there. Yes. And then later on, they will have to explain. They will say, okay, for example, let me go direct myself to the link so that we can see what is going on and explain clearly this exercise. It is just experience. If you agree with that statement, you put it agree. If there is a level of agreement, it is set there. Yes, what they have to agree is that this actually focuses on your experience of success stories when mapping core competencies. They have to agree whether teacher traditions, they are one affecting the implementation of the competence-based curriculum. We are not implementing because we are due to the teacher traditions. You strongly agree or disagree. Or because of clarity of educational policies. When the educational policies are not clear, it is difficult to implement competence-based. You either agree or disagree. This is all the activities all about. And we have these 4 things because these are some of the area researchers found that has a positive influence when implementing competence-based practice. Now we have to see which of these, whether it is teacher traditions or clarity of education, education policies, or teaching and learning practices that we are used to, or modes of assessment that we are used to affect the implementation, or community awareness, when the people are not aware on how we develop competencies, or using, and also we have another question where one can say using your own experience, add any other comments related to mapping core competencies. When you are mapping core competencies, we are looking at, these are some of the issues that tend to drive us. Maybe, Mariam, over to you. Am I clear? You are muted.
Sorry,
Mariam,
I was on mute. Yes. Dr. Cosmos, you don't have to pass it back to me. The session is yours now, so please take participants clearly through this activity. Make sure they understand it. You don't have to pass it back to me. You are now moderating your own session until the end.
Yeah, thank you so much. Now, all participants, if there is any question, you can go to the chat box, or you can ask to be unmuted so that you can tell. But the activity is all about what influences us when we are doing the competence-based, when we are trying to map competencies, and when we are trying to implement a competence-based curriculum. Because from the mapping, the idea is that when you map, it is at the same time you know how you are going to implement.
Hello, Doc. Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Yeah, Doc.
James? Yeah.
Yes. If I have you right, then are we supposed to deliberate on it, or we can comment straight ahead?
Yes, that's why last time there is an area you can comment, you can write what you feel, but this time is just whether you agree with those 4 items, so that we can get also, the idea is to get also new other areas that might influence the implementation of a competence-based curriculum. That's the idea. Yes, that's why you can see there is a space there, you can write more. And now I'm going to share those responses that are coming out, maybe.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a space for us to write, right?
Yes, there's space to write. After those questions, there's a very big space. You can write as many ideas as you wish.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And
I
we
wanted
will
to
share
comment.
those ideas. Yes,
Okay,
after
all
these 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I think now, Mariam, from now we start the 5 minutes, because maybe some were not clear with the one who is controlling we can get 5 minutes, and then you will inform us the time.
Yes, Cosmos, just be aware that there's only 1 hour left of the session, and you have to use your time within that 1 hour. So please do just keep it brief, though, if you would like some more time, maybe a couple more minutes, and then show the results. And then maybe you can comment on whatever's available to see, even if not everybody has taken it. Going very quickly. We have 1 hour. Hello, Dr. Cosmos? Yes.
Yes, thank you. And now while I'm processing the results, maybe now let me welcome Muhando, now 16 responses, and you can continue while now we get experience from Ghana, maybe because now we want to hear experience from Ghana, and then after that we will have a small break where we will have West Lidu, people will respond some few how they feel after experience from Ghana. Because of time, let us welcome experience from Ghana. Isaac Yeboha. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay.
Yes, we hear you.
So,
yeah. You are welcome. We know that we
all right.
Ghana
So
is the first country to get independence in Africa, and maybe can you tell us something, Muhando? How do you know Ghana?
Yeah, we know Ghana for being the first sub-Saharan country to get independence, and also the economy of Ghana has improved tremendously in the recent past. And we think that your trajectory, how you have developed, can inform us. And we believe your education has contributed to this. So let us see, how did you map your competencies? So how did you go about it?
All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon once again. My name is Isaac Yewa, as I have mentioned, or you have mentioned earlier. I may be doing a presentation, and
yes,
so I was trying to find out if
my screen so that you can continue. Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
So
Now continue.
So I wanted to see whether. All right. Okay. So I'll try to share the screen with you all. Okay, so can you see my screen? I'm trying to share my screen now. I hope you can see.
Yes. Yes, we can see you. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can see your screen now.
All right. All right. Okay, fine. So the country has been through a lot. It became necessary for us to change the curriculum as we had been using first. We had been attached to the British system since they were our colonial masters, and we've followed through that path for some time now. But at this stage, the need arose for a curriculum change. The world is moving and ahead, and the country must also be able to move along with it. And so this called for a total change in the curriculum. As it is now, no.
Isaac, if I may suggest, it would be good to mute your video maybe, and then just do with the audio, I don't know.
All right.
The internet
Okay.
connection seems, yeah.
Exactly. Okay, thank you very much. I'll try and stop the video. Okay. So to move along with, for this presentation, I would like to take us through the background, why we needed that reform, why the reform. We're talking about competency-based curriculum now. And then we're going to share some experience that is coming from our country. We'll look at the core competencies that we are looking at as a country, and then the expected benefits that we want to be deriving from this very change. So to begin with, we'll just have to go through some guiding questions as to help us to know why we had to move in this path. So we're going to look at what kind of Ghana do we want to be seeing? What kind of a country are we trying to see to develop in the 10 years, in the 20 years and beyond? What are Ghana's development priorities during the period that is the 10 to 20 year period? We have the ESP 2018-2030. These are policy guidelines. The ESP standing for Educational Strategic Plan. These are policy guidelines that are by the Ministry of Education in Ghana. And this happens to be the guiding principle, the guide to the establishment of or the implementation of whatever thing that we want to introduce into our educational system. What kind of citizens are needed to even manage these developmental priorities? What kind of citizens? And then also we will have to be asking us, how do we nurture such individuals through the school system? How do we nurture them? And then what kind of school curriculum at all should we put in place to transform the country? Because, see, seriously speaking, for some time, we had realized that results coming from national assessment, we have the EGRA, we have the EGMA, we have the NIA, and then we have BEC, we have WASI. All these results were producing something that we couldn't go along with. The results were poor, to hit the point. It was very poor. Seriously speaking, we had also limitations on the assessment system. The assessment system as we had it is not sufficient. We're just looking at only one portion of the whole thing. Well, we're looking at a learner who is able to reproduce whatever thing that he has learned. The assessment doesn't go further to look at whether there are some competencies that have been developed. That is what we were having. And then we also overemphasize on preparing learners for examinations. So a learner goes to school and his thoughts, what he's thinking about is, how am I going to pass my exams? So the shortest route is what he's going to take. He or she is not much concerned about, let's say, developing some competencies that is going to help him in future. The objective is to pass examination. And so as a result of it, we realize that a sizable proportion of graduates, meaning those who are supposed to be completing a particular educational level, are without the requisite knowledge and the skills and competencies to work, and even for further education. They don't have it. So we realize that all these things are not in sync with what is happening world around us. It's not in sync with advancing technologies of learning societies. And even in the employment world, it is not moving along with it at all. So we needed to be able to have a curriculum review, that is what is the rationale for the curriculum review, the reasons behind the curriculum review. We needed to look at the need to emphasize on reading, writing, arithmetic, creativity. We see it to be the foundation, fundamental building blocks for accelerated national development. And then also instill in our young Ghanaians a heightened sense of cultural identity and then nationalism. And there was also the need to shift the structure and the content of education from merely passing examination, as I mentioned earlier, to building character, nurturing values, and raising literate and confident and engaged citizens who can think critically. So it's not about passing exams only, but building the character of our learners who go through the school system. Let's look at what we mean by the term core competencies, as we saw it even from the start of what we had to develop. Competence can be defined, like we're saying, as the ability to carry out activities, maybe specific, to meet some specific standards. So that is how we are seeing, but it's not only just carry out activities, but the ability to transfer skills and knowledge to maybe new situations, so that it is not about you training as an engineer and therefore it is only engineering work that you will have to be doing or you can do, but that same knowledge that has been acquired can be transferred to do other things when the need arises. And then also to organize and then plan activities. So when we're talking about competence, it's also about the ability to interact effectively. We are in a world where we normally refer to as a global village. And how do we coexist if we aren't able to communicate properly, share our ideas and thoughts very well? So we see all these things under the term competence. Why competence-based curriculum? Why do we choose? Why do we choose the competence-based curriculum? There are so many kinds of curricula out there, but we're looking at a competence-based curriculum as a country. We realize that it provides some kind of assurance and evidence that learners are actually learning. That is what they need to know to be competitive on national and or international levels. So the content, what they need to know. Also, we were also looking at how much they need to know. So is the learning, or are they learning to the satisfactory level? And that has to do with proficiency. So it is not only about the content, but competence-based curriculum is so many of them that is going to bring this thing out. And so in developing our curriculum as a country, we needed to look at focusing on some important areas. Competencies, there are so many of them, but to be able to have a curriculum that is going to be able to withstand the test of time, we needed to focus on some core competencies that we can describe as maybe something that is internationally accepted. There are a few of them. We can even relate them to the 21st century competencies. So we focus on a small number of them. And then also, we also try to link it to subjects. So it's subject specific. That is those core competencies that we have selected. We try to link it up with the subjects that we have been studying or our learners have been studying in school. And also, we came out with content standards. These are maybe I'll say key experiences that learners must develop for each subject. So also, we needed to make sure that these competencies are measurable. They are measurable. We have measurable learning outcomes. For each grade, for each content standard, we can say that for example, if you are taking a class, let's say class 1, class 2, that class must have its own content standards per every subject that is being treated at that level. This is what guided the development of the curriculum as we saw it from our point of view. And then when we're talking about learning, measurable learning outcomes, we can straightforward try to link it up with performance standards. We can link it up with performance standards. These are what we can actually assess. The learning outcomes may be broad, but we can come out with maybe professional performance standards. Under every kind of content standard, we have sets of performance standards that is expected of us. And this content standard, performance standards, actually are the benchmarks. They are the milestones. They are what the assessment is supposed to be looking at. So simply put, they describe what the learners must be able to do by the end of a given school year to be successful in the next grade level. So performance standards should answer the question, how good is good enough? And during every kind of session, let's say a year, a term, at the end of the term, and after going through a particular kind of session, the learner is supposed to be assessed. And what is being assessed is these performance standards. Now, so to put it together, we can say that if we are looking at what should be as a country, after all that is said and done, if, for example, we have a curriculum that is clearly defined, and if the performance standards are set for all students, and then if opportunity is given to all children, that is opportunity to learn, standards are set. And if monitoring is also done through fidelity of implementation and external access, if all these things are in place, then we should be able to have an instructional practice which will be seeing the light of the day. That is, instructional practices will change. And then there will also be high level of student performance. So with all that is said and done, if we try as much as possible, this is just a theoretical assumptions. If we have all these things in place, then of course we are supposed to be able to have some changes in our instructional practice, and then there is supposed to be high performance also in our learners. The steps that we needed to follow to be able to come out with the curriculum is what we're trying to go through. Like we all know, we had to do some needs assessment. Needs assessments were supposed to be done. And here we're talking about actually planning for the activity, developing questions, finding out what is actually there, what is lacking, and all that, and coming out with some data and being able to analyze that data to come out with some kind of results that will even be able to help you to move ahead to develop the curriculum. The next stage, which we didn't have do away with, was to be able to meet with stakeholders and engagement with stakeholders. And these stakeholders that we are talking about include teachers, it includes parents, it includes traditional leaders, religious bodies, and all that, because they are all part of what we were trying to develop. And then came the development of the curriculum proper. And that the initial stages was a draft. And this draft will have to be tried and tested in schools. And the results of that will determine whether it will be implemented or not. And that will be the finalization. Otherwise, if it meets any kind of maybe questions or queries, then we have to come back to relook at what has actually gone wrong. And so sometimes there will be a repeat of the development of the curriculum. This is some of the things that we had to go through to come out with the curriculum as we have now. Looking at really what has changed since we implemented the curriculum. Formerly or previously, we had to be doing prescriptive curriculum, and it was limited. We had limited flexibility in the teaching and the learning activity. But with the new curriculum, and as we are seeing it now, and we're hoping will be in the future, continue to be in the future, there's more flexibility and varied instructional strategies for students' mastery of concepts. The previous one was more focused on facts, and it was just being able to get the knowledge and reproduce it, a kind of a rote kind of learning. But we realized that this one is focused more on development of skills, competencies, values, and then attitudes. And then also, the previous one was less focused on inclusion and differentiated curriculum. But with the current one, we are looking at curriculum activities more focused on scaffolding, those inclusion and differentiated tasks, promote inclusion education. The previous curriculum that we were running saw assessment tasks to be not to be tied to the performance indicators, but here with the new one, assessment is based on performance indicators and then benchmarks. We also saw that there are more topics in the previous one, more topics. There were so many topics, long list of objectives leading to surface treatment of topics. You wouldn't be able to go into details, but here with the current one as well, which with these things that has been mentioned, we can actually see that the current curriculum that we are running is going to give us or lead us to a conclusion or that actually we would like. There are other key features that differentiation, scaffolding,
hello, Isaac.
And use of
Isaac, hello.
ICT.
I'm very sorry, but the time has actually run out for your presentation. Could you please very quickly wrap up your presentation?
Excuse me, Mariam.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Dr. Cosmos.
That's Mando now. I'm trying to make people respond to to what Isaac has been telling us. And this will be kind of plenary response, and it will be random. We can give them 3 minutes to think of what can be improved in our understanding of CBC. So we can have music for 3 minutes, and then randomly we shall ask our representatives of countries to give us what impressions they have. I wonder if I'm clear.
Yes, Dr. Cosmos, it sounds like you want to give people 3 minutes to give their reactions and what they've learned from Isaac's presentation. Is that correct?
Yes. So we'll give them 3 minutes to think, and then they'll have we have music to keep us busy, and then we shall get random responses. I'll just count. I'll just mention countries that can respond randomly.
Okay.
Hello, Dr. Cosmos.
Okay. So,
hello, Dr. Cosmos.
Hello.
Hello, Doc. Please, is it possible we use the 3 minutes to do a discussion of the presentation and issues raised, so that we get more insight to it as opposed to writing? Because if you ask and I write, nobody is going to see what I've written. And I think that it becomes difficult for us to share those ideas. I think the tenet of what we are doing is to get exposure to different perspectives of the CBC we are talking about. So instead of, random sampling countries to respond to some kind of questions, I would wish, if it is possible, then we discuss those issues so that people get an insight to the presentation that is done. My candid opinion, please.
Yeah, that's very good. We're pressed for time, but we can accept it. That people.
All right. So can I just conclude?
Yes, Isaac, please, can you take about 30 seconds or so just to conclude your presentation? Just go very quickly, please.
Yeah.
And then I think
right.
that James has a very good suggestion. We can do that afterwards. Thank you, Isaac. Go ahead, please.
All right. Okay. So in conclusion, I'll just conclude because I think I've hit on all the important areas already. So we in short, what we have looked at with the core competencies, the critical thinking, communication, and collaboration, as you see on your screen. We're looking at maybe the final one that maybe I have to talk about is the next steps. And then maybe we can conclude on that. Strengthening governance, and we need to strengthen governance systems to support greater flexibility and then innovation among the schools, and then establishing monitoring and evaluation and accountability mechanisms that provide incentives and then sanctions tied to the students' achievement. Then also we need to provide support structures for teachers, professional learning and growth. These are some of the things that we realize that we need to be able to do to be able to move ahead with what we have started implementing in our schools already. On that note, I would like to say a big thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Isaac. I think the contribution is very, very fruitful. And now we can go back to the members and then give them opportunity to, after looking at what you have said, to see what can be done to improve our understanding on CBC. So we take 3 minutes to think about it, and then we shall have plenary response of what can be done to improve our understanding on CBC. 3 minutes. Thank you.
Dr. Cosmos, there was a suggestion that can they go into breakout rooms to discuss this instead of.
Do you think we have enough time for that?
I think if we make the breakout rooms short, we would have enough time because we have 20 minutes left.
Okay.
And
okay, 10
the
minutes.
breakout rooms.
Yeah. You're welcome. 10 minutes.
So 10 minutes for the breakout rooms?
Yeah, so that they can tell us what can be done to improve our understanding on CBC after listening to Ghana experience.
Okay, could you please show the question on your screen or post it in the chat box, the questions that you want them to discuss in their breakout rooms?
Yes, we are sharing the screen. Hello. Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Yes. Now, here are some of the questions that we expect to see. But before that, we can see reference from Ghana experience. But also, because of the time, we feel that we can go directly to these questions for discussions about this session. That what already exists in our country in terms of competence development, what challenges exist in moving toward competence-based education, what could be the most vital stakeholder in the move toward competence-based education, what strength is found in the national institutions to support the shift to competence-based education, but also with reference to what we got from Ghana experience. Because from the Ghana experience we have, and combining with the experience that we have in our own countries, we hope these questions can be can help us to enlighten our discussions and to sharpen our understanding in the area of CBC. And there's a question, but it is Techno Canon 12. I don't know who is that person. You are welcome.
Yes, I am John Balamara, Curriculum Officer, Minister of Education, Sierra Leone. And
yes,
as he was presenting the Ghana experience and what they did, indeed it was very laudable. And I learned certain things, those questions that they ask as before one goes into developing a competence-based curriculum. And but one thing that is so special in our is like there is some kind of a similarity between us and Ghana. But for us here, what we also introduced was the radical inclusion. And that radical inclusion was talking about bringing deprived kids, pregnant girls, and even poor rural families, those children who are really cannot afford education, have been brought into the education system. Because initially in our country, when a child is pregnant or has a child, will not be allowed to attend school. But in this aspect also, we try to make sure we brought that one inside, that the radical inclusion, that everybody, every child, no one should be marginalized or discriminated against. And also, when it comes to inclusion, we also what's called those kind of those one we call this sexual those we call it CB, reproductive sex something around, because children as early as 5 years, 8 years in class in primary 5, 4. Sometimes they become sexually abused. So we see what was CSC, comprehensive sexuality education, wherein children can be taught about this even at the primary level, so that we do that to the curriculum. But ours in Sierra Leone is different also because the basic curriculum, which we have already developed and we have shared in all the schools, And now we are trying to make another transformative curriculum, wherein now we bring some kind of a subject and but more focused on competencies, not only passing exams like we get from Ghana. I think Ghana experience and Sierra Leone are somehow similar anyway. It's a good presentation anyway. Thank you. John Balamara, Curriculum Officer, MBSSC, Sierra Leone.
Okay, thank you. I think these experiences are good. The idea is that we are going to have 4 groups so that in that group, then we can share. Group 1 will focus on what already exists in terms of competence development. Okay. Group 2 will tell us what challenges exist in moving toward competence-based education. And then group 3, what would be the most vital stakeholders in the move toward the competence-based education. And group 4 will look at what strength is found in the national institutions to support the shift to competence-based. And then we will come, each group will represent it to us all. That was our idea. I think that we feel that one we can gain much when we have this, and then we can share. But we are flexible. We can ask members, how do you find if going into groups and then coming up with some responses or having it. Maybe I ask now our technical person to group us so that we can discuss these issues.
The breakout rooms have been opened, so that participants may kindly join the breakout room that they have been assigned to. Thank you.
Could I just, before we begin discussion, I have a quick request of everyone. I see that there are 5 people under the name Gabriel McBib. You see there are 5 people on the screen under the name Gabriel McBib, but it's because you shared the Zoom link with each other from Gabriel. So could you please, if your name is showing as Gabriel McBib, could you please write down your name, your actual name in the chat box? That way we know who you actually are, and we can later on give you a certificate if you come for the sessions, all of the sessions, okay? So again, if your name is showing as Gabriel McBib, then please write your actual name in the chat box right now so that we can later on check to see the attendance properly to give certificates. Thank you. And Cosmos, you can continue.
Hello, Dr. Cosmos, we are waiting for you.
Hello, Dr. Cosmos, are you still with us? Dr. Cosmos, Dr. Fika?
Cosmos dropped off, I think. I've just seen him drop off.
Yes, I think so. Okay, so everyone, let's just take a few minutes because now we've reached the end of our session. So let's just take 2 or 3 minutes. Does anyone from their groups have any key insights to share about any of those questions that were posted? So if you raise your hand to speak, I will call on you and I will give you only 30 seconds to speak or less. So if you would like to say something, some key learning, especially related to those questions in the chat box, please raise your hand. Mary, you have 30 seconds. Please go.
All right, so ours was in room number 1 for question number 1, that is. From Samaria, we heard that they have come up with a policy and are working towards achieving it. whilst from Zambia and Malawi, we're still using the old one, outcome-based curriculum. However, the willingness is there to go to competency-based curriculum. Now from group number 1 as well, there is a question that we failed to come up with answers to. That is the difference between competency-based curriculum and the outcome-based curriculum. So I'm sure members in room number 1 are still looking for clarity on those two. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. That's exactly 30 seconds. Great, thank you. I see that there's a hand from James. James, 30 seconds.
We're in group 3 and we're looking at the main stakeholders. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we're in group 3 and we're looking at the vital stakeholders that we can kind of engage during implementation of CBC. And we said that parents are very important, and then teachers as well. Parents, because once there is a shift from the traditional method of teaching to the curriculum-based teaching, then the responsibility of the parent in providing material to the child and supporting the child to develop learning is very vital. But as we shift from the traditional to competency-based, then of course the parental role and expectations also changes, because then there is the need for parents to also support the children after school. Then we looked at teachers. Teachers are key facets around which the curriculum revolves. So the training and development of the teacher is very important. In Ghana, what we sought to do is to develop what we call a professional development session, because our teachers are not trained on the new curriculum, which is the competence-based curriculum. But the old curriculum that was in place, we are trying to help the teachers to form cluster meetings. So they have cluster sessions, and what they do is to share their experiences regarding the teaching of some topics. And that is helping us so much, because the teachers were trained on the content objective-driven curriculum and not on the competency-based curriculum. So in short, that is what we also learned from our group. However, we can also look at chiefs, opinion leaders. We can look at our MPs. We can look at the pupils themselves, because the pupils are going to experience the curriculum and their role is also going to change. So how do we, as it were, position the pupils to also change their perception? Because some of the pupils may see, for example, an activity play or activity-based learning as playtime. And so we need to make a conscious effort to also develop a change in their perception so that they can also embrace the competence-based curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you, James. And I let you go a little longer because I know that you were asked to share as well today. Yeah. I see a hand from Hundessa. Yes, please, Hundessa, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Marianne. I was in group 1 where we discussed the Ghanaian experience and inspiration to the nation's experience. To that end, we have heard an experience from the Gambia that they have started developing syllabus in the curriculum framework, which is aligned with the competency-based curriculum. They informed us that they have been exploring potential stakeholders and like-minded organizations while developing the curriculum, and also they take into considerations the skills and the values of the Gambian society while developing the competency-based curriculum. To that end, they confirmed that they are on the right track when compared to the Ghanaian experiences. They have used Kenya and the Ghana as a reference while preparing the syllabus in the competency-based curriculum framework. This is what we have discussed. Thank you.
Thank you, Hundessa. 30 seconds exactly. Thank you. Others, if you would like to share something, now is your time. We have these questions in the chat box. What have you learned from Ghana that can inspire your own nation's experience in CBC? What already exists in terms of competence development in your country, etc. What strengths are there in national institutions? What strengths are there in national institutions to support the shift to competence-based education? This is your chance. Dr. Cosmos, you have come back. I've been giving them 30 seconds to share in this plenary some of their realizations from their discussions. Does anyone want to go next? You can raise your hand or you can just unmute and then begin speaking.
Yes, the realization that we have found much linked to the responses that I'm also sharing now from the online assignment that we had, where we received around 18 responses. Now let me share this screen so that we see also what we see that I think you see the screen now. I've shared the screen. Now we find that
yes, we are seeing the screen. Thank you.
Yeah, these are we had the 18 responses. We had strongly disagree, strongly disagree, agree, strongly agree. Now we see those factors that are influencing mapping of core competencies when implementing competence-based curriculum are focusing on teacher traditions, clarity of educational policies, teaching and learning practices, modes of assessment, and to some extent, community awareness. What does this tell? This tells that when community is not aware, most of the things might be difficult. And now we have to, if looking at the experience from Ghana, we find these seem to be very important. And in the other question, we asked the people to write. We see teacher traditions is coming out, and the methods of assessment, they are coming strongly. Community involvement in the development of the competencies, because when we are, as from the experiences that we had from presentation of Mr. Enea Muhando, is that we are looking at developing people, the human, not things. These are also one very important coming is teacher as change agents. This is very important. And even the group discussion seemed to be very clear with this issue. And there are people talking about availability of resources. And this also seemed to be a serious issue. But to some cases, when we are preparing people in terms of competency-based, and we are focusing at we do not have resources, maybe we need to think, what are the important resources when implementing competence-based curriculum? Because the competence-based curriculum is about developing people, and these things that are supposed to be involved in the teaching and learning are those that will change these people from point 1 to the point 2, point 3, or the other way around. After sharing this, let me welcome Muhando to do some concluding remark for this session before we call, and then we'll come Mariam for other logistic issues that will fall. Please do not leave us, we still need you. We need your presence, and this develop people are competent who can contribute much in the national development. Let me share also the screen now so that Muhando can continue with the concluding remark. Thank you. Welcome, Muhando.
Thank you very much, Cosmos. I'm just trying to add a little bit. We realized that there is a problem in terms of change process. it looks like change can be slow. And change can be slow because of our traditions, not only educational traditions, but even our knowledge traditions in this society. So it needs a lot of awareness and it needs a lot of rigor among those people who are supposed to be the teachers, particularly, because they are the transformative intellectuals. And number two, we have to be aware, even the government has to be very much aware, that the new kind of economy that is ahead of us requires cooperation at all levels, local, regional, and even international. And without building competences among our people, it's going to be very, very difficult. Therefore, we need new attitudes. And it is important to start with attitude that can lead us to look for new skills and new knowledge. And in fact, it's not only knowledge, but know-how. And if we have to do that, then we have to see that competence-based curriculum is about developing creative and innovative minds. We're going back again to our concern about the human aspect. Creativity and innovation have to be emphasized. Now, there's something I can recommend. There's something I can recommend to all of us. I can recommend that when we go back to our systems after this, then we can try to do something more positive. We can look at our systems in the countries and try to encourage local community or practices at local level, because we've seen what we've done today. And again, we can look into the possibility of using TRCs, Teachers Resource Centers, as study circles that can even invite the community to think together about this. Let us use TRCs for conscientizing our society. And then at the school level, we can encourage school-based focus group discussion. A focus group discussion can be very important because teachers can have time to focus on their school and at the school level, try to make together their experiences between subjects. I think this for me comes to an end. Thank you, Cosmo.
Hello, Doc.
Okay.
Hello, Doc.
Yes.
Yeah, can I just send in a teaser? I just want to say this, that it looks like most of the countries who are even implementing the competence-based curriculum, Ghana, Kenya for that matter, that I know, their teachers who are supposed to even handle the curriculum are not trained. So my humble appeal is that if they can use these suggestions that you have come up with, it will help the teachers to share best practices, and that will help push that agenda. It will help broaden their horizon as far as teaching of the competences are concerned, because you need a competency to teach the competences. And it looks like all over sub-Saharan Africa, we don't have teachers who are trained in the teaching of competency-based curriculum. And I think that it's important we also drive home this, so that we find out ways that we can use to engage teachers to be able to develop their competences in teaching the skills and competences we are we expect our students to have. Then the next thing is that going forward, how do we get our colleges of education? How do we get colleges that are training teachers to also change their curriculum to suit the teaching, to suit the pedagogy in those colleges must be changed to suit the teaching of competency-based curriculum. Because as we talk now, most of these countries are still holding on to the traditional methods of teaching. And that doesn't help when it comes to teaching the competencies with this era. So maybe going forward, we need to, maybe one day sometime when we have time, we'll need to discuss that and see the way forward. How do we get the colleges of education? How do we get the training colleges, those institutions that are training teachers, to also change their curriculum to imbibe the competence-based curriculum, so that as they churn out the students will now have those competences and they will be, good to go. They will be good for fit to teach the curriculum than the professional teachers who are already on the field and they are struggling with the teaching of the competencies. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, thank you so much for the discussion for today. Of course, it is the first day. If there are some classes because of course, first is always has some challenges. And now back to Mariam to about other things that are going on so that we get what we need. And in our side as facilitators, we will send you a link. Please, this discussion has to continue, and we are going, I think Mariam will share presentations, and if possible, the Ghana presentation also can be shared. And what I assure you is that in these 8 sessions, it will be full board. That means we will be working together with you. And this discussion today is just an initiation about core competencies, but all in all, we will continue doing this through the WhatsApp group, and please be active, and also through emails, and also in some cases,
Hello, Doc. I think your line has dropped.
Exactly, Doc. We are not hearing you.
Yes, I think we might have lost Cosmos. Cosmos, yes. Can you continue? We couldn't hear you for a moment. You were wrapping up.
Yes, I was wrapping up, and that discussions have to continue so that at least we get what we need. Above all, there will be an activity log, and that will be shared to you. And this activity, we will have some questions, because at the end, you have been told is that participation in this will lead to a certificate. And we would like that certificate to be useful. How is that certificate useful? It is when we have something we can implement in our country. And this time in the chat box, you have a Google Doc to fill your experiences and your evaluation on today's work, but we still need you, and we will continue with you in WhatsApp and emails. Now back to Mariam for other logistical issues.
Thank you, Cosmos. And I think that you wrapped up. Yes, I think that you've wrapped up well now on the thematic conceptual element. And like you said, we will be continuing these conversations over WhatsApp and email. We have only just begun talking and thinking about competency-based education and curriculum. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. And I know that today it was a little bit rocky in terms of the connectivity and other things. So we understand that you may not have gotten a chance to speak here today, but that doesn't mean that you won't get a chance to speak next time. And also, we would like you to add your number in the WhatsApp, in the chat box, if you want to be added to the WhatsApp group, if you're not already there. I should clarify that this community of practice is meeting for the second time. It met last July, so many of these same people were present last July for the workshops. So now that we are meeting again this year. So there's already a WhatsApp group now that's been formed for 1 year. If you want to be added to this group, please add your phone number with country code in the chat box. So that's the end of today's session. We would like you to take the survey that's in the chat box. I'm going to post it one more time so you see it. Hundessa from our team is requesting you to give some feedback on today's session. It's going to help us to better plan next time's session and also hear what you've learned today. So you're still getting a chance to tell us what you've learned, even if you didn't get a chance to speak today in this session. And finally, one more time, if your name is showing as Gabriel McBib in Zoom right now, we need you to type your actual name and your country in the chat box, or else we may not be able to give you a certificate at the end of the 8 sessions because we don't know who you are. It happened because some of you joined using Gabriel's personal Zoom link. It's no problem though. If you put your name and your country in the chat box now, we can still track your attendance properly. Okay, my team from ICPA, is there anything else that we should say before we wrap up? Okay, nothing else then. Everyone, we thank you very much for coming today for this first session. And we know that some elements we couldn't connect very well and we couldn't hear some people very well, but we're just going to get better and better next time because, you know, we're building our own capacities to have excellent conversations despite the many challenges of connecting virtually like this in this virtual atmosphere with limited time. So we thank you for joining us. And we really want you to come back for next week's session and continue the conversations on competency-based education in your countries. Continue over WhatsApp as well. We'll be adding you to WhatsApp if you've shared your number, and we hope to see you next Thursday. And Bezuit, you can begin with the music and the welcome, the closing slide as we log off. Thank you, everyone, and please take the survey to share what you have learned today and what you hope to learn next time. Thank you and goodbye to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. And bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. See you
Bye-bye.
next
See you
Thursday.
next time.
Bye. Isaac Yabua, thank you for a very good presentation.
Nice presentation. Thank you.